Hey guys, Funkymusic here, and just wanted to talk today. Got a question in the YouTube channel the other day about starting guides. What can I do for an easy starting guide? And the answer I have is starting guides are hard because you're constantly replacing gear. Whereas best in slot means you're at end game. There's not too much you're going to be changing, playing around with. It's a little bit different. Whereas gearing up, I mean, on a good week, depending on RNG, I mean, your whole gear set could change. So, Funky, what would you suggest for a new player who's learning the game? What's something that I can learn uh, as a starter? I guess you could say. Well, a few things that you can learn is like one of the big things I could say you can learn is how to keybind. Keybinding in World of Warcraft is by far essential. Can you do things by clicking on your spells and abilities? Absolutely. Are you going to be a lot worse doing so and a lot slower, and your reaction time is going to be a lot worse? Absolutely. This is why clicking your spells and abilities should be something that you try to stay away from. So while you're leveling, it's a good idea. Figure out where your good keybinds are. If you have an MMO mouse, if you have fingers that you can move easily on your keyboard to hit a keybind, if you're whatever keyboard you're using, whatever. If you can find somewhere to keybind these abilities and practice while you are leveling, you'll have much more ease. It'll be much easier when you're higher level to use these abilities and keybind them and have them keybound. Your muscle memory for your fingers and where things are will be built in. So if you're new to the game, I can't stress key binding enough. Key binding right off the rip and learning how to not click on your abilities is a good way to, or well, it's a good way. It's a good way to play the game, and it's something that beginners should definitely invest time into. One of the things that I do whenever I'm playing a new class or a new spec, I will, because I'm usually at level 80 and high level, I'll practice my keybinds and like RDF, something simple, easy, something that's, I may not be min maxing, all going crazy, hog wild DPS or healing or whatever, but it gives me the ability to learn things, and I'll run RDFs. I'm gonna need the tokens to buy stuff anyways, so there's a plus. B, usually unless you're getting somebody that's really high geared, or really knows what they're doing, nobody's going to be doing anything that's going to be causing you to pull aggro off the tank, or lose aggro as a tank, or pull aggro as a healer. In a normal RDF group, that's not going to happen. So it's a great way to practice, and you're getting gear at the same time, and you're getting emblems, so it's a win-win-win right across the board. So something else that you can start to do while you're leveling and learning a little bit more is learning what your abilities are, like which abilities are good for you and which abilities are bad for you. See which ones are. If you look at a guide, I know there's people out there that'll go, Funky, there's a lot in that guide I really don't want to read. Da, 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 da. Go to the spells and abilities in these end-game guides, okay? Go to the spells and abilities. I'm not saying that there's not better abilities or spells at lower levels of gear that aren't going to do more damage, but try to practice with those ones at the end level tier guides that they stress that you should probably use. Those are probably going to be things that you're going to be using a lot, and you should probably get practice in on how to do those. So again, just practice, a lot of practice, 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 practice. And if you start when you start the game by key binding and learning, okay, well, this is a good thing, this is not a good thing, etc., etc., it can go a long way. By the time you reach 80 and by the time you start grinding out gear, you understand that where your keybinds are, your muscle memory's built in. You understand some of the spells and abilities and what's good for you. You may not have it all figured out by then, but at least you'll have somewhere. You'll be ahead of the curve, rather, with a lot of players out there who are still clicking It's amazing to me that this game's almost been out, going on, here in a couple of years, it'll be 20 years, and people are still clicking in MMO. I can't. It boggles my mind that people still click. So, anyways, I got asked that question, and that's just shooting off the hip here. No script or nothing. That's basically a couple of things that I could think of off the top of my head, guys, that might be something that you want to try out right away if you're coming here, you're a new player here, or any private server for that matter. Keybinding your abilities and learning to look out for stuff while you're also DPSing at the same time, which you could practice while you're leveling, doing random dungeon finders when you're leveling up. There's tons of ways to practice that. So definitely get in the habit of practicing moving while DPSing, watching out for stuff while DPSing. You should get away from the habit of trying to look at your abilities that are usually down here, like on my screen. As you'll see, I don't look at these abilities here. These are, I could run without bartender on whatsoever. I know where everything is. It doesn't need to be there. So if you could get to that point where you can look, you don't even have to look down here. You're constantly watching. Like for me, when I'm healing, I'm constantly watching what's going on grid. Well, I got one eye on grid and who I'm healing. I got one eye on my character. I'm also watching DBM timers, making sure that I'm getting ready to avoid certain things or getting ready to move ahead of time so I'm not going to get hit by certain things. Getting that down is very key. I think that to me, that's half the struggle in this game is key binding and just practice, really. So getting those two down gets you way ahead of the curve on most players. And again, just wanted to put that video out. That question was posed to me before. This is like the second or third time. I was like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to make a video on it. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully it helps somebody if you're new to the game. I highly recommend key binding, practicing your abilities, practice DPSing on the move, healing on the move, tanking on the move, practice all that stuff. Whether you're just out in the world and leveling up, or if you're in a random dungeon finder, or if you're in some lower tiered raid, practice. So anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.